What's Neat this week, number 150. Good job, guys.
Here, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Mike, you don't want to touch it. It's a little bit too modern for you.
We got Austin Allard here tonight. We got everybody in the room. What a great group of people. I love this show. It's one of my favorite shows. Did I mention I love watching this show?
How many times? I love watching the show. How many times
before everybody else?
I love seeing how the final edits always come out because they're so different than the actual recording.
Yeah.
All that sprinkles gets put on the ice cream cone. It makes it good. Okay, rock and roll. Austin, look at Daniel's right next to me. So just give us a countdown. Let's do 150.
3, 2, 1.
The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Further support is provided by Microengineering, keeping you on track with quality products for 55 years. Check out their website at www.microengineering.com. Order from your local dealer or order direct by calling 1-800-462-6975. And by Intermountain Railway Company, where the detail makes the difference. Check out their website at intermountain-railway.com. Additional support is provided by TCS, Train Control Systems. Check out their high-quality DCC sound decoders, throttles, accessories, and more at tcsdcc.com. Additional support is provided by Jelsma Graphics, America's leading distributor of quality railroad art and embroidered clothing since 1985. Check out their website at jelsma.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week show in model railroading, show number 150. How did we ever get there? But rock and roll. Look at all the wonderful people I have around me tonight and including in the room. I know, look at that. What's Neat Security, Austin Allard, Mitchell Buffone. I don't see him out there.
No, I don't see
We've
him.
got Daniel Coombs not running camera today.
Hey,
right
guys.
next to me, I've got Daniel Coombs.
All right.
Hi.
It's awesome to have you. Next to Daniel Coombs over here, we've got Denny Jelsma.
Hey.
Jelsma Graphics, all the way
Yes.
from sunny Florida. And yes, he brought some Florida sunshine with him today.
Thank goodness.
It was like 65 degrees and beautiful out there today. All the way on the end over here, we've got Campbell Rice.
Hello, everybody.
And Campbell, thank you very much for housing Denny. You guys get to hang out and run trains tonight.
Oh, yeah,
That's
tomorrow.
gonna be awesome.
For sure.
On the other side of me over here, I've got on the Skype, we've got Dan Mycio, all the way from Pennsylvania. Hey, Dan.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to say I'm here all week, but I'm not.
That's okay. I think you're coming out here in April, and we're going to get a lot of work done then. On the very end, we've got Mike Budde. Hey, Mike.
Hey, everybody.
It's always great to have you. People loved
Thank
your
you.
free cars that you showed off last week on the show.
Thanks.
Something I want to talk about right away, and that is the What's Neat shows. We've done 150 of these podcasts, and there's actually a few more than that when you include the .5 shows that we sprinkle in there every once in a while on the fourth week of the month that we don't do a show. And that just helps fill the void and makes more interesting content. But of the 150 What's Neat shows, there is now an index that is being built by a friend of ours called Randy Hook. And Randy has created an index so that you can find every episode of What's Neat and what the subject was that we talked about in each individual podcast. So when you go to the website, whatsneat.com, you will find the What's Neat index for all the podcast shows. And on it, it's broken up with a homepage, which you can see here. I'm going to show it right now. It's got a link to Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. It's a link to my website, kenpatterson.com. And then off to the left, you can see there's 5 different categories on this website. And as you look down, I'm going to say the homepage is what we just looked at. It's got episodes, which breaks it down per episode by number and what's in each episode and who the guests were. Then when you click on guests, it shows the pictures of all the guests. Look, there's Ashley right on top. Hey, Ashley. And all the guys, Mike Budde, Campbell Rice, Denny Jelsma, you're on there. Jim Wiggins from Athearn, our buddy out there in the cornfield, he's on there. Everybody's on there. I didn't even know we had this many people that we did interviews with on the show.
So
but
many.
they're all itemized with their photographs, and then if you click further on details, it'll tell you what episode they're in. And some people, like Campbell, has been in a lot of episodes. Then as you go down further, it shows models, and that shows all the models that we featured on the show or talked about. Like we've got the models on the table. This breaks it down by every manufacturer, the types of models that we did for Athearn. I think there's 25 of them so far listed. All the box cars for Intermountain and all the freight cars for Intermountain and locomotives for Intermountain. And there's pictures of all of those. So it's an absolutely amazing amount of work. The last category is equipment and vendors. Under equipment, you can see the UWT 50 throttle, and you can also see the UWT 100 throttle, and that's under equipment. And then the last category is vendors, which shows every single manufacturer that we ever talked about on the show. You're looking at me funny, Campbell. What's up?
Where's your microphone?
My microphone is hanging down here on the floor, but I was talking so loud you guys probably heard me anyway.
Well, there's an
continue
echo
on.
there, and I'm like, something's not right.
I was wondering the same thing. I'm sure you guys got all that because I'm so excited about this. I'm yelling in the basement. Michelle's going to call down here in a minute on the cell phone and say, guys, quit having a party downstairs. But this is an amazing effort, an amazing amount of work. And I just want to, how do you say thank you for doing
Yes.
something
Yeah.
like
Yes,
this?
thank you.
And then there's a search bar there. You can go up and search. If you're looking for a certain show or a certain thing we might have covered, let's say trees.
Right.
If you want to just type in that, it'll go to pull up the episodes. So it's awesome.
So Randy Hook has done,
fantastic.
he's got
Awesome.
50 of the shows documented, broken up, and figured out what's in them. He's still going to go through the previous 100 shows. So all 150 shows will eventually be on the index at whatsneat.com.
Since the beginning.
Thank you, Randy Hook.
Yeah.
We are going to have Randy on the show because I want us all to meet him, and I can't wait to meet him. I've talked to him on the phone, and he's amazing. Now,
We've
this
got
is-
a
this
great audience of people out there. It's amazing.
It is. I love it.
Denny and I have been talking about this for 2 days. There's a lot of love out there. A lot of
Yeah.
people enjoy the company and
Absolutely.
the tips
Yep.
and the information that we try to drudge up every week to keep everybody informed of what's going on in ours, the best hobby in the world. Now, there's another wonderful gentleman out there named Bob Getty. Now, Bob Getty, I showed a picture of him when he visited Joshua Sugarfire down at the restaurant, who's not here tonight. But Bob Getty visited with him, and I'm betting I just showed it to you. It's probably still on my computer. Bob Getty made an index for all of the What's Neat shows at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. Now, those are the videos where there's 102 of those, as I mentioned on last week's show, and they show how to get your hands dirty, how to do roads, how to make trees, how to ballast, how to build, how to wire, you name it. And it is in the What's Neat 102 videos on how to build stuff in our hobby. How I built my layout, how you built your layout. I mean, we've gone through the gambit of so many how-tos that you've done, Mike, on the aluminum foil crashes and oil paint weathering. And Campbell pulled a tree out of a hat and showed us how to make wired armature trees. So there's so much stuff on that. And you can find that index by going to, and it's WN index, WN index. So WN, I'm going to write it at the bottom of the screen, okay, so you guys get this right. And then it's .theconsist.com. Or to make it a whole lot simpler, all you've got to do is Google search What's Neat index, and it pops up as the second line on a Google search. So that's another wonderful index that shows all of the What's Neat videos, because again, there's two shows. There's What's Neat at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine, and there's What's Neat This Week, the video podcast. So I wanted to share that information. It's the first time we've really talked about this at length, and I think I covered it, right?
I think so.
You pretty much covered it.
So yeah, rock and roll. We love you guys. Thank you for doing what you do to help us support the best hobby in the world for everybody out there. I mean, like we just said a minute ago, there's a lot of love in the room. That's an awful lot of work. And I thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's what I had to say about that. Denny, you wanted to talk about stuff. You've come all the way from Florida, brother. Tell me how your trip was and what's going on.
Well, it was 89 degrees when I left, and
There you go, bragging now.
and so I froze. I made a selfie, and I sent it to my wife, and I said, "Why am I doing this?" But she says, "Because you love the hobby and you just love all your railroad buddies," and which I really do. And you said it right, Ken. We share so much, and we want to, and it's great. And we like passing our knowledge on to the
Right.
younger guys.
Yes.
We just all like Daniel.
Yeah, yeah, and
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
Yeah, Daniel.
And Dan too.
I'm done.
and then
Yeah,
And Dan.
we love Daniels. I am surrounded by Daniels. How good does this get, right?
Live with it.
Live with it.
I've
So-
noticed that there's only about 20 different names in the hobby. That's about it. You get to pick one of 20 names to be a model railroader.
That's right.
Well, we appreciate what you do for us, Denny.
Yes,
and
we
it's,
do.
It's you know, with people like you that just keeps us going, and we really appreciate everything you do for us too.
well, to me, it's well, making these logos and designs is really a labor of love. I'm a model railroader and I'm a rail fan, and I look at something and I say, wow, that would be a real neat image. Where some guy will call me up and say, hey, I'd like to have a design like this, and you know, with his mind and my mind to go on, we create these things. And I've just updated my website, and I just got off the phone about 5 minutes ago with my webmaster, and he says, boy, I hope you like it. And
Do you?
And I do.
All right.
And, so can I talk about my updates?
What's new on your website, Denny?
Well, we've done naturally 440, the big boy.
Yes.
I think I have 6 versions of the big boy, and naturally we got the latest version of the big boy. This here is probably my most popular
Combination.
combination.
Now, how many stitches is that?
The total there, we probably have about 250,000.
250,000.
That's a lot.
So that's about 9 hours, right?
9-10 hours.
9 or 10 hours to print the back of that jacket.
And we do these, we build every jacket one at a time. And when I got into this business 36 years ago, you could buy a T-shirt at, you know, and they'd make 100 and it'll have Union Pacific on it. Well, I wanted to give the wow, you know, effect to the rail fan, and I think if you're wearing that jacket, that's a wow.
Right.
That
It
is.
is a wow.
It is, yeah.
And but we've added. I had a customer wanted the Grand Rapids and Indiana, and did a little research.
That's an interesting
and it's
logo.
it's just a
Yeah.
really
look at
gorgeous, and it's on the Indiana-Michigan border, and then we have our 2 Santa Fe diesels, and what is brand new is the Chicago Northwestern Commuter Service. And so for the people that live in the Chicago area that see the old push-pull, we have the front of the diesel and then the front of the push-pull. Same thing with the Rock Island.
Yes.
And I got a Vermont, and the logo I'm really excited is the new Norfolk Southern SD70 AC, the front, and it's just stunning. I mean, it's just, you look at it, wow. And it's all by itself, and
He said Norfolk Southern.
Yes,
He
you
didn't
said it
say
right.
Norfolk and Southern.
Southern.
Yeah,
Why
he
don't
said
you
it
guys?
right.
Why
There's
didn't
no and in the middle of Norfolk
I
Southern.
never said
It's
that.
Norfolk Southern, not N and S.
do you wash your clothes or do you wash your clothes?
Depends on what part of the country you're from.
I wash my car. I wash my clothes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off track, but okay. So Norfolk and Southern, but it's really NS, and that's a beautiful logo.
cool.
We showed that off on one of the shows.
yes. And then we got a fantasy. I get a lot of fantasy requests where it's a cotton belt in a SD70.
That's
which is
interesting.
you know, kind of
It is
neat.
nice.
And so we, you know, the Lake Stake Railroad, which is basically a short line in Michigan, and you know, the DB, we put on
Germany,
there.
high speed.
Yeah, and then we got the Blue Comet, a comet, you know, for the guys in Jersey, and so
I dig the UPF units right there, the AB set.
Yep.
And,
No,
and,
I like that red and white G&O.
and then yeah,
That's right.
but then also as another stunning is the 25th anniversary of the BNSF.
Oh, yeah.
And we have
Neat.
all the logos, and I mean, it's just, boy, you look at it and it's just the wow effect. And so is just a lot of love and personalization. And we know that anybody can make a logo, but we want to make it an art. And,
You've done that.
Yeah.
and then when the light and the sun shines on that
Those
jacket,
threads glow.
Right.
and
Right.
boy, what a great thing. And they're very affordable. And I want to just take people will call me and they'll think, wow, these are hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and they're really not. Just to give you an example, the Santa Fe over here, that starts out at about $90.
Okay.
And the high end is $200. And so I want the viewers to realize that that's very affordable. And most of my jackets are $135 to $160. And we do
They're nice.
one at a time. And
This summer, we're going to have to sell some T-shirts
Yeah. Yes.
correct.
and towels.
I always like to
and
throw
hats.
one thing at people where it's whenever you hear somebody say, "Oh man, that's so expensive," just think about how much you might have spent on your most recent locomotive, either with or without sound. And it's like if you didn't buy that, you could buy a jacket or something like that. It's the same
A
price.
guy after my own heart.
I know, right? I was just sitting here thinking about how much I spent on cigarettes, and I could have had a jacket or a couple engines instead. So yeah, rock and roll. It's so much what he just said. He just nailed it.
That's exactly right.
So
I really like the What's Neat logos at the top of this page, so I might have just scrolled to the very top and looked at those What's Neat logos. I'm sorry,
just
Campbell.
did.
Go ahead, Campbell.
So Denny, if someone comes to you and wants a special artwork or anything, how do you do that?
Well, first of all, I'm going to talk with the guy, and I want to find out what his end goal is, and then I'll ask him to send me a picture. I would prefer a rendering artwork than a photograph, and then we'll work from that. We have to have it digitized, so it's a computer program that we got to put into the embroidery machine, and it's. Years ago, they would cost $700 to $1,000. Well, that's all come down now. We could make a small logo like this here for $25 to $20.
Look at that. We've all got What's Neat shirts on tonight.
Yeah.
How about that?
How about that?
Hot dog.
And so they just, we'll start with an email and pictures, and I'll design it and shoot them out a copy. And
Do you do all the design work yourself?
yeah, I do.
Wow, amazing.
So
That's an art there. Just
is,
trying to
yeah.
learn the design work.
but after, going to shows for years and years and years and listening to the rail fan, what they want and what they really like, we think we got a great handle on the marketplace, what we have to offer. And it's just, they last forever. That's part of my problem. I don't get a whole lot of,
They don't wear out.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like a screen print where you wash it a few times, it starts coming apart and
Yeah.
cracking and.
Yeah, I was just about to say that myself. I've got a handful of screen printed shirts. A couple of them were model railroading shirts or railroading shirts, and I've had those for maybe 2 years, 3 years, and they're all faded and coming apart and all that. And these, with the stitching, it's going to last you for a long, long time.
lifetime.
It's not going to come apart.
I think the jacket would fall apart before the stitching would.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got Stephen Mantilla running camera tonight, and he's also got a What's Neat shirt on. And I think you should talk to Stephen Denny and maybe make some Target electric shirts for his company, for his
agree.
electric company.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We were talking about that last night. He had the bullseye herald all figured out that you have on the side of your truck. That would look really good. That black shiny thread.
And the guy holding the bolt lightning, oh, that would be cool.
That would.
So last week on the show, we talked about layout lighting, and that was an interesting 11-minute conversation about lighting your layout and different ways to do it, and we showed a lot of examples. Also, we talked about what color is the color of the sky where you are, what color blue do you have where you live, because it's different depending upon the humidity, the atmosphere, and the altitude of where you live on the planet Earth. And then we showed a lot of examples of that because that's what we're doing. We're modeling the planet Earth in our scales that we enjoy doing. Tonight we're going to talk about a little bit about foam. Now, a lot of people out there, including myself, use foam for layout construction. But a lot of us over the years have discovered that after 7 or 8 years, you tend to discover that the foam shrinks a little bit. It does change its dimension for the shorter. And that does affect things where sometimes you've got to shove your modules closer together, cut the rail joiners a little bit shorter, and or sometimes, as we've gone through this week on the layout and last week, we went through some extreme temperature changes, which really causes the rail on this layout to expand and contract. And it doesn't sound like something that would make a difference, but when we were going from 62 degrees in the basement to the regular 75 degrees, that amount of temperature switch just in this environmentally controlled room, while it was still sub-zero outside, had a huge difference. And I started having switch points pinching. I actually had some curvatures of track. You know, they call it rail kink when rails expand on the real railroad. That happened down here to the point where I took a Dremel motor tool, simply cut a gap in the rail, allowed the gap to then, you know, change its position, and the curve went away, the bend went away. But I want to know in readers' comments about, what do people think about using foam? Have people experienced the foam shrinkage that we do? And if you were to build a layout today, would you actually lay your track on the foam, like I have done in so many What's Neat videos? Because you can get that, Campbell lays his track on cork. Or would you lay your track on 1x4s and build up your layout, again, the old-fashioned box girder method, and simply use the foam to fill in your scenery? There's no such thing as right or wrong on that, but guys, what do you even think about that conversation?
I don't keep mine around long enough to find out about foam shrinkage. But now, I do both. Mainlands or on cork roadbed, and then my sidings and branch lines go straight down on the foam. But I've not experienced any shrinkage yet, so.
Yeah, me neither. And I've actually used the Woodland Scenics foam roadbed system.
That's a nice, that works.
It is.
Yeah.
For me, I've actually never used foam ever.
Really?
It's something that I learned about working with you, Ken. What I've always done is laid down whatever it is, my track work, on either plywood or, like you said, 1x. And since it's N, you can get away with smaller pieces of wood.
Okay.
And then using the cork, either, I forget who makes it. It's been a while since I've had to go buy some. But laying down the cork.
Yeah, I see the Midwest logo.
Midwest, yeah.
Yeah. And, I always like the way that it fills in the ballast. You know, when you ballast over the cork, I always thought it looked really good. And my layout's been in my basement for more years than I can remember. And before that, it was previously constructed by somebody else. And all the track work that's on there is solid. It's not had a single problem in the years and years and years since it was built.
Right.
So,
You know, I've wondered about putting Homosote. You know, a lot of people are coming back to Homosote.
Yeah.
About Homosote down on top of the styrofoam.
What was the name of that company that made those highway signs? North
Drawing a blank.
Oh, you're talking about Tennessee Valley.
Tennessee Valley,
Customs,
yeah.
yeah.
Customs.
Yeah.
They made the road signs. They
Yep.
also have another division that makes Homosote roadbed.
Right,
And they're
yeah.
eventually going to talk about that in a couple of months on the show. We've got samples over there. And it's so much so that this roadbed's already cut out to the profile of your track. In O scale,
Right,
N
right,
scale, or
yeah.
HO scale, available where you
yeah.
can just buy it. So it replaces cork, I guess, in that case.
Yeah, in that case, yeah.
Oh.
And it's nice because it's kind of, they've already got the curvature, so you don't have to, lay your cork out in a curve, So I don't know. That may be something to look at.
But Ken, I've down through the years I've belonged to quite a few clubs, and the bottom line is you got to have a climate-controlled temperature, and everything's got to be really controlled within a few degrees.
Okay.
And the club that I belong to in Jacksonville, it's climate-controlled. We just don't have rail problems, and people will come and they'll say, wow, nothing derails. Everything works so
Super
well.
smooth.
And it's the environment.
Right.
And so if you're going to have a model railroad, I have mine in my garage, and it's not climate, and it's a problem.
Yes.
Yeah, it really does. Weather does make a difference, surprisingly.
I mean, I hear James Regier talk about taking care of that. He's a curator for the Magic House HO scale layout that they have at that museum at the Magic House in Kirkwood. And he has problems on that layout. And that even is a climately controlled layout. But he's got tracks. Sometimes he calls me up. He's like, hey, Ken, these tracks just took a twist right in the middle. And he's got to go in there and notch it out and fix it or do whatever he's got to do to repair it. So it's not anything new. All of us seem to go through it. The very first time I went through it, I panicked. But, that's, you don't think things change when you just don't know.
Yeah.
But rock and roll. Okay, so Mike, you brought a freight car tonight. Why don't you tell us what you brought over tonight?
Well, I'm kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. I haven't done anything in a while. I've been working a lot on my dad's house. I haven't been doing very much modeling, but I always like automobiles themed things, and this is the way a lot of your automobiles will end up someday.
Going to scrapyard, huh?
Crushed and
All right.
square.
Yeah.
So this is Mike Budde's automobile square
Right.
freight car load.
So that was your cars you're working on that didn't turn out right.
Yeah,
That's what you
right.
do with them?
Right.
Now, did you build those little scrap loads out of aluminum foil?
Some of them I did, but the bulk of it is one of those chooch cast
Oh,
loads.
yeah, okay.
But I did a lot of work. I painted them different colors, and I put a lot of pieces of
Chrome.
like trim
Yeah.
sticking up, because those things never crushed exactly right. There's a license plate on one of them, part of a tire and stuff. But I actually did start making my own out of candy wrappers, and I made this little plastic thing that I can crumble the foil up and slide this thing down, and it makes perfect squares. So. I got into that for a while. I got a couple of those that I've been working on, but this
is
is
very
the first
cool.
one. So
Well, Daniel, you told me about Schaefer's Hobby having Rapido Horizon cars,
Yes, I did, in fact.
and I decided I wasn't going to spend $200 for one on eBay. So I ran right over to Mark. Was it Mark Twain or Schaefer's? It was Schaefer's Hobby
in
Shop.
South County.
And I finally got the cafe car, which is so hard to find. That's the car where the windows are blanked out in the middle, and it's got all the tables set up in it, all the full lighting, all the interior detail, all the bottom detail in the freight car. So it looks really good with the M coaches. Running behind the Bachmann Charger locomotive, which is at Consist right behind your head over there, Campbell. But yeah, rock and roll. It's really neat to get finally the Horizon cars. We've got the Missouri Mule modeled, which is a train that runs through Kansas City to Jefferson City to St. Louis.
And then I went over there after you told me, and they were all gone because somebody bought them all up.
Oh, goodness. So there was three.
You're
There
gonna
was
see 'em on
three, yeah.
eBay for $400 again. Yeah.
man.
Now, Dan Mycio, you're going to love the fact that we got all the buildings in this week for the N-scale layout. We've got a variety of Walthers structures over there, including the great big grain elevator, which actually in N-scale is about 25 feet taller than the HO scale version in scale. And I want this one to look about the same as the HO scale one, so I'm going to cut 20 feet off the bottom of the N-scale grain elevator, so perspectively it looks the same as the grain elevator that I use in all my photos and videos, because otherwise it's actually too big for the entire layout. I mean, it's over 120 feet tall, and the whole layout itself is only about 5 acres. So, I mean, if you do the math, so I'm just doing a little selective compression to make the buildings a little bit more enjoyable. The buildings on the table are, in fact, Woodland Scenics buildings. These are also in N-scale. And for you modelers out there or you layout builders out there, this is the answer to building a layout custom for somebody where you don't have to build all the buildings yourself and take all that time. You simply buy them built, plop them on the layout, and wire them up. And what do I mean by wiring them up? They come with the Light Hub lighting system. So these buildings have all got LEDs in them or underneath the gas station porch to light up the aesthetics of the N-scale structure, so you don't have to work those lights in yourself. And we've done that in HO scale, and we know how much work it is. In the old days, working with the old Christmas lights that we used to put in our buildings.
Yeah.
But Dan, this is really cool to see these Woodland Scenic structures. You should include some of these on your layout, brother.
I totally should. And speaking of wiring LEDs and stuff like that,
Yes.
I wanted to announce that we have new wire available from TCS. For a long, long time throughout our history, we have offered wire in a different variety of gauges, as well as LEDs, resistors, and pretty much anything that you need to do an installation in either a locomotive or a building. But now, as of yesterday, Friday, we just launched a new line of the product for wire in both 20 and 24 gauge. Previously, we had 32, 30, and magnet wire available, which is just the single strand stuff. But everything that we offer is multi-stranded. It is highly flexible, has a special PVC coating that's specialty made for us. And give you an example, on the 20 gauge wire, each one of the strands within that wire is 2/1000ths of an inch in diameter. And so in 20 gauge wire, that gives you about 266 strands.
That's amazing.
It's insane.
Wow.
And this wire, I got to tell you guys, it is the most flexible. It's the best wire I've ever worked with my entire life. It's fantastic. And it doesn't matter what scale you're working in. You can be doing N scale, you can be doing Z scale, HO, S, O, G. We've got wire for you. So give you an example, in my bus wiring I've been doing, I got these little hub things by a company called RPC Electronics. And these are little hubs that have little connectors on them. And I've been using this wire, a combination of the 20 gauge and the 24 gauge, to do all or redo all of my bus wiring on my layout. And it's amazing. It's been super easy to work with. The great thing about these little hubs is that you can, it interrupts the wire, right? So I just have to run it from one hub to another.
Right.
And the center terminal on it, I can run that up my two legs to my track, left and right. So in the future, if I want to add things like block detection or signal systems, anything like that that relies on having segregation between the different blocks in your layout, this kind of does it automatically. And all I'd have to do down the road is just cut the rails in certain places.
That's cool.
To do block detection. So again, the name of the company, I believe I got it right. Yeah, it's RPC Electronics. They are a TCS dealer if you're interested in picking up some wire from them while you're at it.
Right.
And you can find them at rpc-electronics.com.
Well, that works better because I end up wiring things backwards, and it would be easier to pull and switch around than have to redo everything.
I love it
That's
when you
right.
talk, and you got to listen to every word you say, because you drop these tips of little products out there that if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss. And I'm
Right.
going to give you an example of one of those products. We use the LNWI system for the Digitrack system. And with our NCE system, we always go to the laptop computer and use Decoder Pro to get onto the Wi-Fi system. So we can run a train with our cell phone, or run a train with the UWT 100 or UWT 50 throttles that Dan sells. But you mentioned a product on a couple shows back. I mean, if you weren't listening, you would have missed it. It was something from Australia that allows you to connect your NCE system directly to this device for 130
Wi-Fi
bucks,
tracks.
and it gives you Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
What was that thing?
That's right.
What was
So
that?
yeah, just a refresher here on that. That's called the WFD30. Made by a company
WFD30.
called Wi-Fi Track.
Right.
And
I looked it up.
is essentially for people who are familiar with the LNWI, it's the same thing, but for NCE.
Right.
It does have an expanded feature set over the LNWI, so you can do some certain other things, and it's a little bit more responsive and has some other options. But it's available from a company in Australia called Wi-Fi Tracks, and we have one. We worked with the developer while we were creating the Wi-Fi throttle system that we've been working with. And we've been bouncing ideas back and forth, and he's been continuing to include new features into the WFD30. For example, I think he made an improvement to the routes where you can control NCE macros if you have macros set up in your system.
Right. You've talked about that
And
before. Yeah.
enhancements to the consisting so that you can handle consisting through there. And there's something else I wish I could remember that we were working with him on that's going to be coming down the road in a couple weeks, couple months, something like that for that device. And it is updatable. It's not updatable through Wi-Fi, unfortunately, but it is software updatable, so you don't have to send it back to him in Australia in order to be able to update it.
No, that's super important. It works so good with the NCE system. It allows us to get Wi-Fi. I got to buy one of those. He told me to order one of those when he was here, and I didn't do it. But I'm going to do that this week, so we can because I love the NCE system. I like using the throttles. I also like using the UWT 100 with my NCE system.
Yep.
And I've been going through batteries on that. I don't know, Dan, maybe I'm running too many trains. Every 3 days, I've been replacing the AA batteries. I need to get the rechargeables because I let it run all day.
You turned your throttle so that it doesn't shut off.
I did
so
do that.
that's just
Yes. I did do that, yes.
an attestment to the life of the batteries, where you can be using it basically 20 hours a day for 3 days straight, and then now you're
Now
out of
I'm
battery.
dead. I know. I did sleep somewhere in there. Now the UWT 50, you guys were having a special on that, and that still runs through the end of the month, where you can get the pre-order price, and I think it's like 50. Explain to me what it is off on that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so right now we are still offering the UWT 50, and this is a last call for pre-orders. The pre-order sale is going to close on March 29th, which is not this coming Monday, but the next Monday after that. And we are offering 2 different tiers of pricing for U.S. customers, where you can get a UWT 50 on pre-order for $174.95, and you pay $100 up front, and then the rest is prior to shipment. Or you can get $50 off MSRP, which is $149.95 if you pay the whole thing up front.
There you
For
go.
our UK customers, we're also offering it 110 pounds, and you can get that special price if you live in the UK. And we also are running a different special, which forgive me while I look this up because I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. But if you place an order for a UWT 50 and a UWT 100,
Right,
you
like
can
James
get
Regier
both
did.
of them for $399.95.
Okay.
So that's you basically it's almost like a buy one get one free sort of deal, or get one half price.
That's awesome.
Where the UWT 100 is $299.95 MSRP, and you're basically paying another $100 on top of that to get a UWT 50 as well. And for people who are looking to get that, if you're interested in it, we do ship the UWT 100 up front, so you don't have to wait until your
Right, those are
UWT
available.
50 is
Yep,
ready
yep.
in order to get it up and running and start playing with it.
That's awesome. All right, before we talk about these wonderful passenger cars on the table, I'm looking at Austin Allard over there, and it reminds me of the fact that he was here this week, and him and Mitchell Bufoden helped me work on the N-scale layout. We put in all of the railroad ties where the tracks gap together. So every time we solder a joint, we always would use a wire brush on the weathered Code 70 rail. You got to wipe off the weathering on that in order to get connectivity between the rail joiners. And then we soldered the joints, and then this week we had like 68 or 70 different spots to replace the N-scale railroad ties back where the joints are. We went through the entire layout, did that. Thank you guys for helping me with that. You saved me time. And we had a fun discussion. And then Austin Allard was working on replacing his very large river bridge on his layout. I got video clips of this. I showed some trains running through it, and I could talk forever because I love watching these trains run through that bridge. But he rebuilt it. He got rid of the the bridges with the upper girders on them. And he went for straight micro-engineering 85-foot girders to go under the bridge track. So now the entire bridge runs through, and we happen to have some 85-foot girders here the night that he was working on the N-scale layout. And so he went over there and started building these 85-foot girders for the very first time he ever did it. We gave him T-squares, we gave him block squares, we gave him two kinds of glue to use, the liquid glue with needles and tester's glue and paste. And he actually liked using the tester's glue better because it gave him more time to work with to flex all the parts together. Because when you're building an 85-foot girder, you're also building all the cross braces that go through the entire bridge structure, and then on top the lateral cross braces. So it's a very strong structure when it's all set up. But hats off to you. There's pictures I'm probably pulling off of Facebook right now of the completed bridge because your scenery is really starting to look good on that layout. We feature that layout in last month's What's Neat video, and there was no scenery on it yet. And my goodness, how much work you've gotten done in the last 2 months. In fact, Campbell Rice, you were working on that layout, weren't you?
Yes, I gave him some scenery tips Friday. We went over and he said, okay, I've got my bridges done. I'm ready to start my scenery on this area. So I told him, I said, okay, here's what you got to do here to start off with. And Friday I went over and took Sculptamold and went all over the layout. So it's coming along. It's going to be good when we get it done.
You're awesome, man. Let's think about that. You are in the April What's Neat showing us how to do scenery on your layout.
Yeah, how I do my layout, yep.
And in Dan Mycio, you are in the video that just came out for March. The March What's Neat video just came out around the 15th. And in that video, you show us how to install sound decoders in the Broadway Limited Alligators RSD 15 locomotives that I've got. That's segment's running in there, and I think that segment's also going to run on your website, isn't it?
I know how much you've been enjoying those.
Yes.
Running those guys around.
Yes, that's a
Those
couple
actually,
sets of
as a matter
batteries.
fact, those are going to be in the upcoming segment of What's Neat for next month, where I show you how to do concept sync.
That's right, because I didn't want you just to show it to me. I wanted you to show it to everybody. So Campbell, when you're working on the layout over there with Austin, I hope you document some of that material.
I've already got it.
And let's get some, let's show, because your techniques are different than mine, but your end result is great, which further proves there's no such thing as a wrong way in this hobby to build scenery or to get the end result that you want. There's a lot of different ways to get there. So it flies in the face of the experts that always used to tell me, oh no, you can't do it that way. You have to do it this way. And it's a big discovery on my part to see you come in like a breath of fresh air with a whole different technique that comes out to be perfect Missouri scenery.
Well, I don't know about that.
All right,
Hey,
Denny.
I just learned by watching everybody else. That's how I learned,
right.
so maybe I can pass it on. So
Yep.
What about these beautiful brass passenger cars on the table, Denny?
Well, what we have here is the Shoreham brass first dome. The Burlington took a coach in 1945 and they added a dome, and they ran an experimental train expedition flyer and was the pre-runner for the California Zephyr.
Right.
And then in '49 they built another dome like this, and they're a little bit different. And this car is actually pretty rare. And this car was finished off by Boyd Reese of Fullerton, California, which is just professionally done.
Beautiful car.
And it's just it's a rare car. Plus, it's just gorgeous. And I like the wow in my jackets. I like the wow in my passenger cars. And this ended up running on the Twin Cities Zephyr, and that was brass. Then what I have here is a custom-built brass side, and it started with a Walthers core kit.
Okay.
And I have a real good friend that's in my railroad club, and so he custom builds models for a living.
Wow.
And he really gets high-end dollar for his custom work, and he basically really scratch built this thing.
Wow.
And his name is Mike Stamey of Southeast Models. And Mike is just, he's a wonderful guy, and he helped me out on price-wise on this, but
That's
otherwise
nice.
I couldn't
It's
afford
beautiful.
it.
It's beautiful.
But it's just, it's exact, and it really turned out neat, and you can't really buy that. And so this was an add-on dome car for the Bluebird.
Right.
The Bluebird was such a success, and they went to Pullman Standard, and they had this made for the Bluebird after about 2 years of service. So these are my two latest pride and joys that I like to show off.
That's awesome.
And so,
Neat.
Now, Daniel, you've been working, finally you've gotten your large scale, is it 7.5-inch gauge?
Yes, 7.5.
Your
inch
diesel
gauge.
locomotive, and you've been working on that. I saw a YouTube video of the motor running, so you're definitely a good mechanic. But you brought the parts of the model here tonight of the cab of the locomotive. Tell us about that.
Yes, I did. And of course, I didn't think to bring the screws with me because we could have put it together, and set it up. And I thought, okay, you might have some spare screws in the
I got a
shop
welder,
over
we
there.
could weld it
I
up.
don't know. I like the dismantling. But anyways, progressing with that, and those of you who are friends with me on Facebook saw that from a coworker at my part-time job, he offered up a 7.5-inch scale, like a Plymouth switcher, we'll call it that, and a nice black gondola car, which I had 3 seats to it. I went to a local car wash here, and you can probably see B-roll of this. Yeah, self-serve car wash we have here in St. Louis. I spent about just like under 5 minutes for $2 washing off the parts, so I can kind of get them prepped. I've been progressing more on it. I finally got the motor to run. I found out it was a loose throttle linkage on the motor and the throttle lever that wasn't making it go. Because I was thinking to myself, well, why isn't it going? Because I thought the fine tune on the carburetor is like, oh heck, that's just a idle. So I sit there and then I start pulling this lever back, and all of a sudden it went pew, there across the driveway at my grandmother's house where I'm storing it. And I'm thinking to myself, please don't let it go roll down the hill. Just please, no.
Oh, man.
So I'm so glad we don't have gas engines in our models.
Yeah.
No kidding. But I'm thinking maybe, and I know you've been toying this idea, that I got a few pieces of the track.
Bring the track over here.
Yep, and
We'll
I think
shoot
we're-
some B-roll of
yeah,
you
set
not
it up.
getting hurt riding it. I don't know why they're all giggling back there, but I like it when they're happy. I want everybody to go to the what'sneat.com, and check out the Intermountain. Check out the word Intermountain. That manufacturer's listed on there, and you can see pictures of every single freight cars that we've talked about, all of their coal cars, all of the gondolas for hauling grain in N scale and HO scale, those PFE cars, all of those different variations in HO scale that we showed, these wonderful diesel locomotives that are on the shelf up here that we're soon going to make a video on, the brand new
Intermountain Tier 4s.
Tier 4s, right. Absolutely amazing. When you go to what'sneat.com and check out the podcast index, you can see every single thing that Intermountain has done in color outdoor photography. So you can see the quality of what you're getting before you go to intermountainrailways.com and make your purchase. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I really feel that this new index is going to be a very, very powerful tool for folks out there that want to investigate or know more about the models that they're about to purchase. That information is going to be out there forever as long as YouTube is out there. And so rock and roll. This is an index not only of that, but of research. What am I going to buy? What's the quality going to look like? What's the paint schemes going to look like? Which Horizon car do I want? You know, when we talk about these things, you're going to find that on the index. So rock and roll, I'm really looking forward to where that leads us. So with that, I think we're going to close this one out. Are we almost done?
Got one thing I want to add.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
I did create a Facebook page called Campbell's Railroad Modeling.
Okay.
And I've had a lot of people join in, sign in, and you can kind of follow along with my progress on my layout. But I've had some people come up and say, I don't do Facebook, but I'd like to see what you're doing. So I have just created a YouTube page under the same name. And since Ken has forced me into video editing,
He's doing good too.
I don't know about that. You'll see how bad it is in April.
They loved your road video.
Yeah, but I didn't edit it. You did. So I'm going to start putting some stuff together, and I'll also put it on my YouTube page. So if you're interested in kind of follow along with what I'm doing on my railroad, go to YouTube and look under Campbell's Railroad Modeling.
I wish we had more people out there that knew how to edit video and shoot their layouts and shoot all the layouts around in their neighborhoods and shoot their hobby stores in their neighborhoods and send us the footage. We would have unlimited amounts.
Yeah.
Not that we've ever
Yes.
run out of anything to talk about at this table.
Oh, no, we never do.
I can't say that. Dan Mycio, what else do you want to add to that? You're coming here in April, right?
Most likely, yeah. It's not set in stone yet, but I'd very much like to. I did have one more thing that I wanted to talk about, and this isn't really anything related to anything that TCS is doing. This is kind of
No,
just
this is cool. He showed me this. Go ahead.
yeah,
what is
this
it,
is just
spoiler?
hey, this is what's neat this week.
This
for
is
me.
what he does for fun.
Yeah.
What is this?
So I did this for fun. This is a this is a Bluetooth speaker. I got it plugged in so the battery doesn't die.
Okay.
But I hooked this up. I found on Amazon these little Bluetooth transmitter things that you can plug into a 3.5 millimeter jack. I got it plugged into a decoder all the way over on the other side of the room. And
No way.
You could put sound in your diesel, the big one,
hope that
Yeah.
picks up.
through Bluetooth. Like
That's
that.
an idea.
Hell, you could play music running down the
But yeah,
tracks.
this is what I've
Doggone, I
been working
can't.
on.
That's great.
Oh, I love that outcome.
Oh, yeah.
This is
Man.
just a wild sound decoder, just one of our standard decoders. And I plugged this thing into it. And I always like to say that the wild sound platform always scales up with the speaker that you have it connected to, and that's definitely true of this thing.
Sounds realistic
Man.
too. Doesn't even
It
sound
sure
like a model.
does.
Love that.
Wow.
Wow.
Man,
That's
that
why they
sounds
call
great.
it wow. Okay.
Wow sound.
All right.
I want to know how to get that good of a sound in my HO scale.
It's
That's what-
inside the decoders. That's what
So,
they record.
Here's the thing. That's already in your decoder.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the thing about it.
It's just-
The little tiny speakers that you can fit into a model they don't do the decoder
Yeah,
justice.
you're right.
You can get this sound out of your model, and this is really cool because this little thing, you know, they're like $30 or something like that on Amazon, and you can hook it into a decoder, sync it up with a speaker like this, and you've got layout sound. Anybody can do this today with a 3.5 millimeter jack, like I said, and this little module thing, and a Bluetooth speaker.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's a great idea.
I know, right? I got to pick out some more engines for him to put sound in. All right, guys. Best hobby in the world with the best people in it. Show number 150. Rock and roll. Let's do another 150. Right?
Woohoo.
I know. Mike Budde, thank you for being here tonight. Steve Mantilla, thank you for running Campbell. Rice, thank you so much for being here with us.
Wait. You said Steve Mantilla running Campbell?
Thank you, Steve Mantilla, for running Campbell.
There you go.
Campbell
Your
Rice.
brain is running ahead of your mouth.
Yeah.
That's how I edit video too, and thank God the computer is faster. Denny Jelsma, thank you for bringing the sunshine to St. Louis.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
tomorrow we're going to get you down to Sugar Fire because we didn't make it down there today. Daniel Coombs, you're everybody's favorite. We got to watch you grow up right here on the show.
Glad to
Dan
be a part of
Mycio,
it.
we love you, brother. Everybody, let's go run some trains.
All right, let's do it.